Hi everybody, Tom Ball from Sun Racing. Delighted to be joined by Hugo Palmer, who has a big contender in this weekend's Investec Derby at Epsom in Emissary. It is a very, very exciting horse in the making, I think, where his first-time cheek pieces. Hugo, talk us through his chance, and do you think his effort at Goodwood in the Cocked Hat Stakes leads him up nicely to this big Group 1 contest?
Well, obviously that's what we hope. It's an enormous race and very exciting to be involved. Any followers of my horses will have noticed that they've all been coming on massively for their first runs. We had a little bit of a setback with this horse, nothing at all serious, but I just wasn't quite happy with him. I mean, months ago now in the spring. But building up to these races is not, your pre-season, you're building up to it is a massive process, and any hiatus in that at all is always difficult. So he was only just about ready to get going when we went to Goodwood, and I think babyishness and a slight lack of readiness, caught him out on the day, and we hope he's going to come forward enormously for it, which obviously he needs to do. But that's the hope.
Excellent. I thought at Wolverhampton on debut and at Goodwood, actually, he looked a very well-balanced colt. Do you think it's the kind of horse that would suit the undulations of Epsom?
Well, that's what I think, and that's what we hope. Jim Crowley came and rode him this morning and said, goodness, what a beautifully balanced horse, and what a gentleman as well. So, you need to have temperament for Derby Day. It's obviously a Derby Day unlike any other, so there's not going to be tens of thousands of people there. But even still, the race course, it's a big field. It's going further than he's ever run before. I think he's got the perfect temperament for it. I think he's got an enormous amount of the attributes that you need for Epsom. The question mark, of course, is whether he has the gears. That's why we run races, is to find out.
Well, absolutely. And I see you put first-time cheek pieces on him. What's the thinking behind that?
Well, we are looking for a little bit extra than we got at Goodwood, and we just felt that it would help him. He's a very inexperienced horse. He's not the least experienced in the field, but he's only run twice, and we just thought if it helped him to travel a little bit better in the early part of the race to hold his position to the top of the hill, and if it came down to a tussle of heads, often found that cheek pieces just sometimes make them stretch their nose out just that little bit further. And if we ever needed an extra inch, then it might be in the Derby.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen he's drawn 4 this morning, which is quite close to Mogul and English King. Are you happy with that?
Yes, I was sort of lying awake worrying about the draw last night. The sort of received wisdom that I've had from speaking to jockeys and certainly to Michael Hills, who's ridden an awful lot of the fast work on this horse at home, and of course won the 96 Derby with Sharmit. I've always felt that to try and be in the middle is where you dream of being in the middle. Michael's always said sort of 4 to 10 is where he would have liked to have been. So I'm happy with 4. I think if it was one of those draws where you pick them yourself, like for the Stewards Cup or Melbourne Cup or something, I think if I was first out of the hat, I might have chosen 6. So we're not far away.
Absolutely.
I think we're a little bit off the wings anyway. So hopefully he can get himself into a nice position and hold his place.
Absolutely, hopefully you can. And obviously you've got Acquitted entered on Sunday at Sandown. Is the plan to go there to the Coral Challenge with him?
He could well go. It's a seriously competitive handicap against his elders, and there are options against his own age group here at Newmarket at the July meeting next week. But I like Sandown for the horse. I think the stiff mile will suit. And I think it's going to be quite kind ground. It might even be just good ground, or maybe even slower, depending what rain they get. Whereas I think it'll be quick ground here in Newmarket next week, and I don't think he wants quick ground. So he is a possibility, but he's got a very light weight, and it's a very hot race. So we'll see. It might be a 10 to 10 tomorrow morning sort of decision.
And you'd have to say he still looks pretty well handicapped, judged on that Palace Pier run at Newcastle, doesn't he?
Yes, look, we're absolutely mystified as to what happened in his race at the Royal Meeting. The only thing that we can think on very soft ground, which he likes, But if you imagine you've got a big field of runners all charging through soft ground, and could very easily have thrown up a great big clod of earth that he could have swallowed or inhaled or hit him in the face and just knock the stuffing out of you. Imagine if you're running along at sort of 38 miles an hour and someone hits you with a 3-kilo piece of mud in the face. You're going to know about it. He gave, he coughed up some mud afterwards, which is sometimes a sign that a horse has bled, but he hadn't bled. We checked. His bloods are right, his scope's right, he's sound, he looks $1 million. It's just one of those things we're just absolutely scratching our head, because it wasn't as if he was beaten. I mean, he was 100 lengths last. I think actually 97 3/4 lengths last. But I mean, it was extraordinary. It was too bad to be true. So we're going to put a line through it and try again.
Absolutely. Hopefully he can bounce back whenever he does run next, whether it be Sunday or next week. And you've also got Ironclad declared at Epsom on Saturday. How's he getting along?
Ironclad's been going great. I've been pleased with all his work this year. The last day we ran him at Kempton, and we couldn't quite work out why he didn't win, and wonder whether it was because he didn't stay. But then he came home and he had a little injury. So I think we put it down to that. The injury's been mended. He's been gelded since then. He's a strong travelling horse, which you often need at Epsom. So I hope he'll handle Epsom, but you don't know until you try. He's a big horse. He'd be a much bigger horse than Emissary. But he's got a nice draw on the inside there, and I think again he was a non-runner at Doncaster last week on very fast ground. So I think what looks like predominantly good ground at Epsom this weekend should suit him. And look, I hope he's a well-handicapped horse, but fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed indeed. And just harking back to a wonderful weekend last week where we saw Caravan of Hope land the Betfair Northumberland Plate. Really impressive winner that day, I thought. And obviously Collider ran a huge race in third as well. What would be the targets for future targets for the winner? I mean, he looks a really progressive stayer who kind of relished the step up to 2 miles, didn't he?
He really did. And he's the sort of horse, he could well be a Cesarewitch horse by the end of the year. Both horses like a bit of cut in the ground. Neither of them can perform on fast ground. So that's going to slightly temper where we go. Collide will, if the ground is right, will go to the Ebor. And I doubt whether Caravan of Hope will get in. But in this odd year, all bets on that sort of thing are off, because Caravan of Hope off 89 wouldn't normally have got into the Northumberland Plate, but because it was only it was worth pennies, not pounds, and it's normally worth hundreds of thousands of pounds. He got in. So the Ebor is not going to be worth $1 million this year. They haven't announced what it's worth. The less it's worth, the more chance Caravan of Hope will have of getting into the Ebor. Staying handicapped will be where they both go. Collide is a listed winner, and if we spotted a race that might suit him in France with a bit of give in the ground, he could maybe step up to a Group 3 or something like that.
Okay, tremendous. 2 very exciting staying prospects for the future. Hugo, thank you so much. Obviously, best of luck this weekend with the Emissary and the Derby. Really exciting colt going forward, and hopefully you can do the business. Thank you very much, and best of luck.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Love it.